All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we are decoding the highly logical, almost mathematical mind of the 18th century mystic Emanuel Swedenborg. We're going to be looking at this through the specific lens of Ryuho Okawa's advanced 1990 lecture on Swedenborg's spiritual messages. We're going to uncover a truly staggering vision of the afterlife. But even more importantly, we're going to extract a crucial historical lesson about exactly what happens when a brilliant mind tries to spread a radical truth without building a structured movement. So here's our agenda for today. We're going to cover the logical mystic, mechanics of the soul, the rebirth agency, the price of genius, and finally, building a spiritual organization. Let's get into it. Okay, part one, the logical mystic. You know, when most of us picture a traditional medium, we're probably thinking of a spooky, muddy, candlelit cavern, right? Just this chaotic, emotional energy. But Swedenborg? Totally different vibe. Being in his spiritual presence was described as sitting on a bright, sunlit, glass-walled cafe terrace. He was refined, Western. He brought the razor-sharp logical intellect of a scientist directly into the afterlife. To really grasp how wild this was, we gotta look at the intellectual heavyweights of his time. Post-17th century, human thought basically splintered into three camps. You've got Isaac Newton, literally defining physical laws and scientific convenience. Then Immanuel Kant, diving deep into the human mind, but completely dodging the spiritual realm. And then there's Swedenborg. He wasn't just some fringe mystic. He was a giant of modern thought who stood right alongside Newton and Kant. He just took all that intense, specialized logic and pointed it straight at spiritual phenomena. Moving on to part two, mechanics of the soul. Now, because of that hyperlogical mind, Swedenborg actually deconstructed the literal anatomy of a soul. We're not talking about floating white ghosts here. Get this, when you cross over, your absolute first mandatory class in the spirit world is realizing you aren't physical anymore. And how do the instructors prove this? They literally split your spiritual body in two. You just stand there watching your consciousness divide into two identical bodies staring right back at each other. Crazy, right? For an average soul, it takes about 3 Earth years to really process that without totally panicking. But advanced souls, they wrap their heads around it in under a year. And once you actually grasp that you aren't just one solid physical thing, you get introduced to a crucial concept, the number 6. This single number represents the exact structure of your true spiritual family. It's called the soul sibling system. See, you aren't just out there flying solo. You're part of a 6-member squad, 1 core soul and 5 branch souls. And this team operates on a colossal 2,000-year master plan. You actually take turns. So while one of you is down here on Earth living as a modern office worker or a medieval samurai, the other 5 are up in the spirit world. And you share everything. All the joy, all the trauma, the life lessons, it's all pooled together. Here's the most amazing part though. If one sibling makes a mistake and falls into hell, the rest of the group doesn't just abandon them. No way. They actually rework their cosmic schedules. One sibling might literally say, okay, I'll take a super tough incarnation next time, just to generate enough spiritual energy to pull them out. It's this beautiful, ultimate support system. Which brings us to part 3, the rebirth agency. Now, if you thought the sibling system was organized, wait until you hear about the bureaucracy of reincarnation. Swedenborg didn't see souls just aimlessly floating around playing harps on clouds. He saw a massive, hyper-efficient operation in the 6th dimension called the rebirth agency. Think of it like the ultimate celestial municipal office. They track your past lives and calculate your future incarnations using systems so advanced, they're basically spiritual supercomputers. It's literally a place where you could walk up to a counter and request your soul's historical data file. And the actual process to get reborn? Nothing is left to chance. First, the agency drafts a detailed 200-year plan for you, nailing down your future parents, your sibling dynamics, and the exact career that will maximize your soul's growth. Then you've got strict progress reviews at the 50 and 100-year marks. Once everything's approved, you are sent to this massive orientation facility. In the lecture, it's playfully compared to the Tokyo Dome. You spend 3 months there getting prepped for physical reality, and your spiritual body literally shrinks down into a cocoon state right before entering the predetermined womb. It's a whole production. The level of administrative detail here is absolutely mind-blowing. Even your birth region and gender, they're mathematically calculated based on how your soul group has historically performed. Earth's regions are actually ranked A, B, C, and so on. Highly developed areas are A ranked, which means getting placed there is super competitive. And gender isn't random either. The ratio of male to female incarnations within your group follows a strict mathematical formula based on past life grades. If you actually need to switch genders to fulfill your next life's curriculum, you have to undergo a highly specific energetic ritual at the agency to completely alter your spiritual energy signature. It's pure, rigorous logic applied to divine mechanics.
All right, part 4, the price of genius.
So, despite having total access to these incredibly logical, advanced systems, Swedenborg's own life on Earth is actually a huge flashing warning sign for us. Take a look at his timeline. From birth to age 54, the guy is an absolute rock star. He's reigning as a top-tier European scientific mind, highly credentialed, deeply respected. Then, bam, age 55, his spiritual awakening hits. He starts writing these massive detailed accounts of the spirit world. You'd think his flawless scientific reputation would protect him, right? Actually, scratch that. By the time he was 80, this brilliant, world-renowned genius was facing severe persecution and was forced into exile. So what went wrong? His downfall wasn't a lack of intelligence, and it definitely wasn't a lack of truth. It was a lack of structure. He relied entirely on his individual genius. Because he was so uniquely talented, he just didn't do the groundwork. He didn't build an organization, he didn't train a core group of followers, and he didn't create a protective shield for his movement. He stood totally alone. And when you stand alone with radical truth, you become a very easy target for society to attack.
This leads us right into our final section, building a spiritual organization.
Swedenborg's tragedy brings us to the ultimate practical takeaway of this entire explainer. If you want to survive and actually spread profound spiritual truths in the modern world, you absolutely must be organized. The lecture specifically points out that modern seekers need to be what it calls two-sword wielders, meaning you have to be highly competent in spiritual matters, yes, but you simultaneously have to crush it in everyday worldly society. You need to be deeply trusted at your workplace and highly capable in the real world. Because if you just retreat into being some weird spiritual group, society will instantly marginalize you. You need both swords to survive. And look, if an organization is really going to scale, say jumping from 50,000 people to 1 million, it simply cannot rely on a lone genius. It requires 3 very distinct, hyper-competent archetypes working in total synergy. First, you need the hero, the action-oriented person with immense vitality and fearless energy to drive expansion. Second, the administrator, the sharp intellect who ensures all the real-world, day-to-day operations run flawlessly. And third, the strategist, the wise planner, the staff officer who designs those brilliant, unexpected pathways for the future. Take any one of these out, and the whole movement stalls. So as we look back at the highly systematized afterlife that Swedenborg revealed to us, and we remember the tragic price he paid for trying to carry that immense truth all by himself, the lesson here is intensely practical. Expanding any profound movement requires deeply capable people stepping up and filling structured roles. So I'll leave you with this one final thought. When it comes to building something that truly lasts, which of these 3 roles are you going to step up and play?